Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we're down here at the MMC Gamuda booth for the 2017 SPAD event, and very, very excited to have Mr. Adil and Mr. Syed Mahdhar here. Thank you both, gentlemen, for your time this morning. And we'd like to talk about safety and sustainable mobility this morning. So, firstly, our first question, straight off the bat, will be, after the MRT project, we have seen improvements in safety practices. Can you elaborate on some of these successes?
The success stories, purely, I could say, we give full credit to the contractors. In the early days, the contractors were not very clear about our stand on safety. But over time, for the last 5 years, they have come to realize that safety will always be our number one priority. So much so that you could see there's a lot of self-regulating among the work package contractors. So there are not so much of excessive enforcement, but more of focusing on education. So what we embarked on in the last improvement cycle, rather than to focus excessively on enforcement, we are now embarking on more towards what is known as the behavioral-based safety concept. So again, those days, what happened was, there was this policy of catch me if you can. And then when you're there, they will try to behave. When you're not there, they don't behave. And that is where the problem lies. But over time, I think the contractors that is engaged with MRT have come to realize if they do not do self-regulating, and they are the ones who's going to pay the price. So what we did was, we emphasized to them they need to do self-regulating, and they need to understand behavioral base. In other words, all the workers, they don't need safety officers or safety engineer. Technically, all workers can behave like a safety officer. So they have a peer pressure among themselves, and this is what you could see, the improvement at least in line 2, how you basically we did not transform yet, but at least we have migrated the maturity of our safety level in our MRT project.
Okay. Fantastic. Mr. Adil?
Yeah, I think behavior is something that's difficult to change. But looking at the MRT experience, once when we started, the emphasis on safety was not at the level that we want, but over the years, through time, as the project progressed, we can see that, like Tuan Syed said, there's been a lot of change. I personally have seen a lot of high-level management getting more involved in safety during that period. I've seen safety practitioners, given the empowerment, so they're able to actually carry out their duties more effectively. And I think that will carry through beyond the MRT project.
Thank you very much. So, moving on, can you give us an overview of safety measures at every stage of the MRT project? From the safety of the train, all the way to the safety of machinery and equipment and the welfare of the workers?
That's a big question, but let me break it up for you in a few parts. When you look at the overall managing of safety, there are two parts. One is called the occupational safety part. That is where the day-to-day, the workers, the safety of the workers, if any mishap, that is called occupational safety. Notwithstanding that, because you talk about the train, we also look at the operational safety. So the operational safety are very clear to us that, for example, during the design stage, the factor of safety is involved, the operational safety is involved, even the project has not been completed yet, but we already think about the maintenance safety. So when you embark on the overall day-to-day, first we look at the occupational safety. For the occupational safety, we understand the importance of time and cost, all right? Because most contractors, their main purpose in life is to make money. At the same time, how do you ensure compliance to safety? It's easier said than done. So what we did was, rather than to really enforce and penalize, what we did was we engineered a method mainly to break down in terms of the apprenticeship or work skill. For example, if you are bore piling, you should have a certain safety skill. But if you are doing work at height, it's a different skill. If you're talking about welding, or you're talking about bar bending and so forth. So we broke up the modules into 4 different modules. So we have a specific target for specific worker skills. So by doing that, we give them what is known as colored card. So if you're general workers, you will have the blue card. So if you are a bit more risk work, like working at height or scaffolding and so forth, we'll give you another color card. And then if you're a machinery operators, because you're talking about lifting equipment and whether your gearbox is going to be dodgy or your braking system, that is another skill. So we give you another skill set. So what we do is we segregate all this into few skills set. And we target specifically, and everyone is mandatory to attend this. Once you have attended this, then only you can start working at our site. And that is for the occupational safety component. For the operational safety component, we have what is known as the system assurance. So the system assurance, you see, a lot of our train are based on driverless technology. So when you have a driverless technology, you cannot depend on the hardware alone. You also need to understand the reliability of the software. Because the software is the real driver, where the mechanical part are the slave. All right? If the driver doesn't trigger properly, the slave will just follow suit. So all this part is really vigorously done during the validation and verification processes, from the design all the way to the completion, even before the testing and commissioning. So by doing this both ends, we are not looking at the workers alone, but we are looking even what about the public who's going to use our transport in the future. All right. Now for the safety of the workers, we have also provide them with central labor quarters. At the central labor quarters, this is where we continuously have a daily briefing, and we don't really call it as the normal toolbox. The toolbox is where in the morning everybody will be informed what are the safety requirements required, all right? But we have changed it a bit. We turn around and call it, it's like awareness campaign, and this is not our original idea anyway. It was taken or adapted from the Japanese concept called the Kiken Yoshi. In other words, when everybody goes to work this morning, if we do not follow procedures, one of us got to get injured or have an incident. So a lot of the workers stand around and say, what could go wrong? So some people say, if it rains, I'm not going to work because I might be hit by lightning. Or if I don't have a buddy system, I do not want to work because I do not know. So all this comes up, and they will put all the mitigation up front, rather than from the safety executive who tells them what to do. They will tell us what they think they want to do. If they don't, then they will have a problem. Okay? It's the other way around. So this seems to be extremely effective, because they in turn will become a safety officer. And then once they have agreed, then they will pledge, yes, this is what we're going to do. So there will be a certain peer pressure among themselves, but this is still in an experimental stage, because the workers in a project like this, they don't last 5 years, because it's a skill set. So when a first batch comes for the first 1 year, and then we have to re-educate the second batch, because they take, I mean, for example, first he's talking about the piling team, then you have the piers team, then you have the viaduct team. So you have different teams working at different stage. So because of that, the training concept with MRT project is continuous till the last day.
I think for the MRT project was very challenging because well, basically it's going through a very urban environment. So the way we manage safety has got to be different than what is done conventionally. So I think we realized that our focus at that time was on a few things. One is the training part. Second is the enforcement part. The third part is the contractual requirements. So these are the three prongs, the three thrusts that we focus on to make sure that we can set up all the requirements that suits the project demands, provide all the training, like what Syed mentioned just now, all the safety passport training and all that, and also carry out all the enforcement, set up the team to have proper enforcement, to make sure that everything is followed through and everything is implemented. And I think this has somehow empowered the people down the line to take charge of safety themselves. I have seen this change, so I think this is quite good, because this is something that we think they will carry through, even if they go to another project, get involved in some of the works. This fundamental feeling will carry through.
So that's an interesting point, Mr. Adil. You focused on the three pillars. Is there any specific examples within those three pillars that we feel that we need to focus on to move safety to the next level?
My point of view is that if it was a totally different project, this three thrusts is still critical. You must make sure that that the requirements in the contract is there to compel the contractors to adhere to certain minimum safety requirements. You must make sure that you provide the training for them. I mean, we have, in the MRT project, we have our training center that makes sure that everybody is trained. Okay, everybody is trained and everybody is certified competent in whatever roles they are going to play. This has got to carry on. This must be there. The third part is the enforcement, and enforcement basically boils down to empowering people. This also has to carry through. So if you ask me what needs to be there to make sure that things can improve or things can be implemented the way we want, it's these three things. It's these three common things that has to be implemented.
The basics, the fundamentals, as you said.
Yes.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Mr. Syed, you mentioned before that we've got, it's still in trial, but you're looking at that bottom-up approach from Japan. Is there anything else that's new and exciting that we're implementing in the safety regime?
They are, but we don't.
That you can talk
they
about.
Are, but I do not want. You see, the philosophy for us, when we are managing compliance, we do not want to brag, so to speak. So our philosophy is very simple. We under-promise and over-deliver. That's you can't say this is what you're going to do and tomorrow you have one incident. But what I could say is whatever things that we have done, if you look at facts and numbers, in line 1, after 1.3 million man-hours, you have the major incident. In line 2, because of all the lesson learned, we have not touched or broke more than 13 million man-hours without a single class 1, class 2 or class 3 incident whatsoever. And this is really unheard of in a construction industry. Of 13 million man-hours without, and if you build a building in the middle of nowhere, the challenge is different. If you build a metro that passes through township, the risk or the extent of the safety component basically multiply. And having that said, and yet you can get 13 million man-hours without any incident, is, I think, the fact speaks volumes. What are the new more and more initiatives that we are looking at? Again, there are certain things, because I do not want to tell this because it's going to be a policy. But the end in mind you got to understand is the main purpose of contractors is to make money. So how do we then blend asking them to make money, and yet at the same time for them to recognize that safety is so important. Without this they cannot make money. So what are we formulating at the moment? We will put it at bay at the moment. We do not want to really publicize, but this is going to be a game changer, we feel. Because if you look and talk to the contractors, they really, okay, half-heartedly, some say they will do. But if you put the dollars and cents, and that will entice them, okay? And it's a win-win situation to me.
Well, that's something exciting to look out for, and congratulations on the 13 million man-hours. That's really an amazing feat without a safety issue. One of the other questions we wanted to ask you was, how do you see the new technology impacting upon how things are currently done?
That's a very interesting question, because the new technology, for example, now from the design stage, we have the building information modeling or management system. That will help a lot with regards to clashes, the designing of your system or your stations, thinking and thought of maintenance, accessibility. So with the BIM, you also will able to identify clashes, rework. All these will impact directly or indirectly time, cost, safety, quality, and whatnot. So we cannot be, we really cannot be just sitting on our laurels and say, this is what I'm going to do. We are changing. And for your info, MRT and also the MMC Gamuda for the underground project have achieved one of the highest award in the Asia for the BIM level 2 for the construction.
I think what I think will happen in future is there will be greater collaboration between the authorities and also stakeholders like MRT or even maybe high-speed rail or ECRL, because you can see that now with the focus has now changed, the emphasis has now changed. With the MRT project, people are seeing safety as very, as taking the step forward, as being in front now. Everybody is talking about safety, and we know that there will be a shortage of personnel that will be involved in safety. So even though we are empowering people, but the professionals needs to be there to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So in future, what I see is a greater collaboration, and this will definitely require the use of technology to enable greater interaction between all the stakeholders to make sure that the safety is implemented.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We're out of time, and I'm sure you have to get off to other events as well, but muchly appreciated. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you very much.